What's up, guys? I'm tired again, so bear with me, please. Not like the last time. I'll be fine. Today we're going to listen to Alkaline Trio. What the fuck's this album called? Blood, Hair, and Eyeballs. It's a weird one. This is their newest album. It came out on January 26, 2024, which I didn't even know it came out. It came out like a week after my birthday. It's kind of cool. They've been around for a long time. I didn't realize they were around that long. They started in 96. It's not the original lineup anymore, but it's still Matt Skiba, and then on guitar and vocals, Dan Adriano on bass and vocals, and Adam Willard on drums. And I'm pretty sure it's their 10th album, and it's on Rise Records. They're from around here. They're kind of local to us. It says they're from Chicago, which they might be from there now, but I know when they started, they were in McHenry. And then I don't know how they all met. I'm assuming just around the punk scene and all that. Everybody around then was so it was like a big community. Like all the punk people knew everybody, and yeah. This is the longest gap they had in albums since. So Matt left for a few years, and he played with Blink-182 for a couple of years while Tom left. And then Tom came back, and he just kind of didn't say anything. He didn't tell anybody. He just came back and said, "I'm here." And then Matt came back to Alkaline Trio. So they just went on hiatus for a few years. But I think it was a 6-year gap. Yeah, 6-year gap between this album and their last album. And here we go.
Off to the races.
And I'm drinking coffee today instead of water because I'm fucking tired. So I'm probably going to shit myself later. Yeah, just right when it starts out, it's just Alkaline Trio. Yep. It just sounds like them. They were, I was telling Tim before, but I wasn't, like, I've always liked Alkaline Trio, but I don't know a lot of their stuff. Now, this is only like the third time I've listened to this album, so it's kind of new for me still.
Yeah, I try to keep this one as new as possible to me coming in, kind of be a little more reactionary to it. I gave it like a quick listen before I came over, but I was trying to purposefully not listen to it just so I can react more to it during our video.
Yeah, these were like, one of the earlier emo bands. So like when I was in high school, this was the kind of the stuff that like my group of friends were listening to, and Ashley was really big on these guys. But back then, like From Here to Infirmary was like the huge album.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool because like Dream Theater for like that group, they're not similar by any means.
No, not at all.
They were like the not so popular band back then, which was similar to Dream Theater. How they never really got that popular, even though like a lot of people know them.
Right. I mean, they seem like just reading or just looking at their play counts on YouTube Music, it looks an awful lot like comparatively to other bands. The counts are a little low, but once again, it's just like the Muse album that we did. It just seems like when people listen to this band, they listen to the whole album. They don't just listen to like one or two one or two songs on it. So I mean, that's
but I also don't know how they calculate their what they consider a play.
That's a good point.
How long it has to be playing. I think it's like at least 30 seconds to be considered a play.
Right.
So either way, it's one of those bands, you get the gist of it kind of, within the first minute of the song. They're short songs. This whole album's only like 35 minutes.
Right.
So,
well, and I mean, I'm not totally in the dark on this band because I have heard a few of their songs before. Once again, another band that I never really got into, never really heard of until way later.
Yeah.
It was probably like going into the 20-teens. It does remind me an awful lot like if Blink-182, Offspring, any of those bands like all merged into one. That's what I kind of got from this band.
Yeah, exactly.
A little more emo.
These guys were a lot more like if Blink-182 was a little bit darker.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I felt when I was listening to it.
I mean, this is just a good band in general. Like I didn't think they're kind of like, I guess Gateway. They're just kind of right down the middle with as far as like their genre goes, because they're not really pop punk, but they're not really not pop punk either.
Right. And I mean, like I said, I listened to the entire album before I came over. Not a single song was I like, okay, I got to shut this off. Like, I actually enjoyed every single song. It was kind of cool.
It's good, chill, just kind of, put it on. I'd say it's slightly better than, like, background music.
I would say so.
Because you can actually get into it, And, like, their lyrics are usually a little bit more meaningful than bands like Blink-182 or,
Yeah, some of their shit was dark on here, too,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, This Addiction, that album, the lyrical content's really dark. It's all about overcoming addiction.
Man,
it's a great album though.
Yeah,
that one's probably my favorite. That other than this one, that's the only album that I've really listened to other than like From Here to Infirmary, but I didn't really listen to that one much either. I first heard these guys when I was in middle school, actually. I heard I had that Atticus Dragging the Lake 2 CD.
Okay, yeah. I
And
remember that one.
the live version of Crawl was on there from Here to Infirmary, but it was the live version from Warped Tour or something like that, which is way better than the album version. It sounds better, like it just kind of flows better. And
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, that was the first time I heard that, and that must have been, I think that was when we were in Leaving November. That must have been around that time.
Because, yeah, that band, I think,
That was
we
like
were
04.
01 to 04.
Not
So,
even
yeah.
that long. I was only in it for about maybe a year.
Yeah, well, because I was going to say, we were, the band was together for a few years, but yeah, I mean, I think you came in like the last year or so.
I was like 12, I think, when I started, and then 13 when we quit.
Yeah, it was the first band I was ever in. Me and my friend Justin and my friend Matt at the time, we were all just like learning how to play and stuff. Well, Justin had been playing drums for forever.
Yeah.
But we just decided to start a pop punk band and went out and played a few shows locally and everything like that.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. We never really got that big. I mean, I think we were heading in a direction where we could have maybe sounded a little bit like these guys, but I don't think we were ever going to get there.
Because of our background, we sounded like Blink-182 with a metal influence.
Right, and I would agree.
Because it was a lot more pop punk sounding, but there were like, guitar solos and shit.
Right.
They've always been a band to me that it was like not really one of my big musical influences, which like now that I'm thinking back, like probably when I was in Emerge, I'm sure that was their influence, and I guess it influenced me a little bit. But I don't know, like it's weird how like I said, they weren't like a huge influence on me, but I feel like I still took something from it, and I still kind of put it in, like because the stuff that I write, I feel is pretty down the middle and like kind of, I guess, neutral sounding, and not. I mean, it's metal for the most part, but
the value that I found in it was melody, and this band's a perfect example of that. There's a lot of melodic lead lines in it, and the guitars, a lot of them are hidden. Like I was like listening hard, and I was like. Some of the rhythm parts you can hear like little lead figures that he's doing while he's playing the chord and stuff. So I was like,
this one's cool.
Oh yeah, I like that song.
Yeah, it's a cool one. It's I like the guitar line in the chorus.
Yeah,
I like those like like the little breaks in there. It's cool.
And they do that a lot. And
yeah.
I would say that was one of the things I was going to say about this group when I was listening to them was they're very no nonsense. Like it's just they get the point across and they don't fuck around. They just this is the point we're trying to make.
I mean, that's kind of Midwest rock in general. Like, just get to the point. Like, they're kind of the same idea with like Rise Against. They're from Hoffman.
Oh, really?
Or Arlington Heights. One of those two. They're from the Schaumburg area, and they're kind of the same thing, but they're a little bit more on like the hardcore punk.
Well, I was gonna say it sounds like the suburbs over there. It seems like there's a real big punk scene over there.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure when they started, because they both started around the same time. I think Rise Against started a little bit later, but I'm pretty sure they used to do like the local scene together a lot. These guys, I'm pretty sure these guys came out before, but I think Rise Against started in like the later 90s, so it was only a matter of a few years.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really interesting too how diverse Illinois music is. I mean, you have the classic bands like Cheap Trick, Styx, REO Speedwagon, stuff like that. You have some metal bands.
Disturbed,
and then you have these guys and other punk bands like that, and it's really interesting to see how diverse the state is when it comes to music.
Yeah, I think they just kind of got lumped in with Blink-182 and bands like that, but kind of like Jimmy Eat World, you know. But they don't sound really. I mean, you can hear like pop, like I said, pop punk in it, but I wouldn't really call them a pop punk band. I'd just call them like emo rock, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
alternative.
Emo rock, and then for somebody like me, I would just be like, okay, well, it's just Midwest rock, because I mean that's really what I get from it. The kind of messages that they sing about, I think most people that live in this area kind of have the same sort of feelings.
Yeah,
they can relate to it. They understand what's being said, and the music really goes along with it. I mean, it's not overly processed. It's not outdone and everything like that. It's just, here's your music, here's the message we're trying to put to it, and here you go. Similar
to Muse, like they've been around for that long and they only have 10 albums. Like that's crazy.
They've
been around for almost 30 years.
Right. But I mean,
but there was a pretty long break between, like I said, this one and the one before it, and then I think there was a pretty long break between that album and the one before it too.
Okay.
I think it was like four or 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
COVID. It was.
Well, yeah, COVID fucked everybody, but at the same time too, though, I mean, a lot of bands do that. Like when they get I would say after they get to like their mid-peak area, like after they've been around like their 5th or 6th album.
They're just like, fuck it, we're just going to write until we write something great and put it out when we want.
Which that's fine. I mean, you know, absence does make the heart grow fonder, so I mean, it's like 2-3 years will go by and you'd be like, I wonder what happened to Alkaline Trio, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really don't think a record company is necessary anymore these days. You can put your own stuff out.
Yeah, make up your own name for your, you know, publishing company or whatever. I don't. I just put under my fucking name.
Right. Now, see, and that's one thing, too, that only recently since we've done this channel did I get into it, but kind of appreciating the producer of the album. You know, it's one thing with the musicians. They're talented, and they're the ones that came up with the music, but, I mean, you have to produce it, too, and you have to make it sound listenable. So, you know, I've really come to appreciate who produced the album, too.
A lot of people don't understand or realize how much work it is actually, like, creating music and putting it out, and especially a record that sounds good enough to put out.
Right.
You know, it's a lot of fucking work. It's not just, you know, you and your friends go into a fucking room with the microphones and play and record it and put it out. It's not at all that simple. I feel like people are starting to understand that more now than they were back in the day, because a lot of people, you know, they have recording equipment, whether it's for podcasts or you know, streaming or whatever. But I feel like a lot more people are starting to understand, you know, it's a process and it's a job.
I was just listening back a few days ago to some of the stuff that I recorded even like 5 years ago, and then I listened to something that I did recently. Boy, I mean, like, it's amazing how insanely different it sounds, and like when you don't know, it just like it's so flat. I do like how the bass player isn't just plowing ahead on most of the songs. Like he's really just like doo-doo.
Yeah.
Doo-doo.
That was something that I thought was pretty cool too. Like he's not just following the guitars.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's kind of doing their own thing. It's kind of easy too when it's only 3 people.
Right.
You kind of have to build a huge, you know, sound.
Right.
You know, but
because like I know I've said it a few times on some of these videos when I talk about rhythm section, but that's kind of, at least the instruments anyway in this band, it sounds like just a 3-piece rhythm section, and that's exactly what it is. I mean, each instrument is kind of playing off of one another at different parts of the beat and the rhythm,
and the vocals are carrying the melody.
Right. And I think that's kind of why I enjoyed hearing this, because you kind of get everything you need, all the information you need for the music, just in such a small piece span.
Yeah, these guys are cool. They're not like one of my favorites, but they're definitely one I go back to every now and then. Especially listening to This Addiction, that album's pretty good. A lot of people didn't like it though, which I don't know. I liked it. That was like one of the only ones I really hung on to.
And see, and I don't mind these guys. I mean, well, that too, the guitar wise, there's a lot to hear there too, because he does, for a punk guitar player, he uses some interesting chords, like some real big extensions. He does use some, like I was saying before, he'll incorporate the melody line in with the rhythm. So it's just cool, like how each note rubs one another, and it kind of creates another mood aside from like what they're getting through in the lyric content and how they're singing. So.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of At the Drive-In.
Yeah,
like kind of the same, or like, you know, like their earlier days when they were a little bit more punk rock.
Yeah, these guys do kind of remind me a little bit of At the Drive-In.
Yeah, just
like
not so technical.
Yeah, they have kind of like a similar overall feel like that. Like, I know it's like Midwestern emo here that we're listening to, but it kind of has that sort of California punk feel. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, those guys are from Texas.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, the style itself.
Yeah.
And plus that too, I mean, that's the other thing that they avoided, I would say probably across their whole catalog, is they don't really overdo it on the distortion on the guitar either. Like, it's real natural sounding. Which kind of helps because it blends the tone of the guitar in with the voices and the bass.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's one instrument's more prominent than the other. I know like a lot of metal guitar players and stuff like that, they're very particular of what kind of instrument they're going to use, what kind of amp setup they're going to have, what kind of pedal setup. As far as punk rock goes, that's why it's kind of cool for me to hear it, because it's such a natural sounding guitar tone. And
a lot of times, you know, they don't use that much gain on their amps because you're hitting the strings so hard.
Right.
You know, it's all energy. That's where your tone comes from. It comes from your hands. It doesn't come from your, you know, obviously speakers, but it doesn't come from as much from the amp.
Right. Yeah, you're not processing it through a ton of effects or anything like that.
It's pretty punk rock.
Yeah.
No, that was an old school like rock and roll thing, or blues. You know, they didn't really use a whole bunch of shit reverb. There was a common mod for the old Leslie organ speakers or cabinets.
Oh, okay.
Because they had the built-in.
Oh, okay.
And there was a mod for so you can plug a guitar head into it. which is kind of cool. And you get this really just that haunting church organ sound, you know. But
Yeah,
it's a
I think
guitar.
that'd be sick.
Yeah, this album I thought was good too. Just like listening, driving to work.
Yeah.
You know, I have kind of a long drive. Not super long, but it's like 30, 35 minutes, and it's almost perfect length. I think it was like right at the end of the last song when I'm going into work. So like, but it's just so right down the middle that it doesn't like make you more just kind of
right.
It's not like more like sensory shit,
right?
You know, to make you more irritated or whatever while you're driving. It's kind of just a nice kind of mood. Like,
right.
I hate to say, you know, Gen Z words or whatever. But.
Well, and that's the nice thing too. Speaking of that, you know, the way I would kind of feel if I listened to this in the car, it'd be like, it's not going to overhype me,
exactly,
and like get me like, you know,
it doesn't. It's not overly stimulating. That's what I was trying to say.
Right,
yeah.
But it's also not going to put you to sleep either.
Right.
So I mean, because there's some albums you could listen to on your way to work and everything, and just be like, when you get there and you're just like, I'm ready to go to bed.
Yeah. But then, I mean, most of the time I'm listening to like just a lot of like death metal shit or like really heavy shit on the way to work, and it's like, it's cool every now and then because it kind of gets you, you know, kind of wakes you up a little bit. But like at the same time, when you're tired or if you don't sleep or whatever, and you put on like that really heavy shit on your way to work, and you're already kind of dreading going to work,
oh yeah,
it just kind of it kind of boosts that.
Yeah, it has the opposite effect.
Mood, you know, but I don't know. I've kind of been listening to more stuff like this just because it's more kind of calming in the car. You know, I'm spending a lot more time driving, so
that's why I think I really like this one when I listen to it, because it is kind of a little slower, a little more mid-tempo, nothing crazy, nothing flashy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's good background music. It's not, you know, it doesn't have to be like strictly background music though, because you can, you know, if you're into vocals and lyrics and shit like that, it's got a pretty good message and meaning and stuff too.
Yeah.
So, all right, yeah, I guess while this one's whiting out, we'll wrap it up. So yeah, that was Alkaline Trio, Blood, Hair, and Eyeballs.
That is such a weird name.
They were just kind of weird people.
Right, but I mean, it's just like, one of the lyrics in one of the songs, it had something to do with these fingernails or something, or like breadcrumb trails, and I'm like, what the hell does that even mean?
They were kind of weird, but it's cool that they kind of sound the same as they did back when I was in, you know, middle school.
Yeah, and I really commend them for that, for not changing their style. I mean, that's I do understand that bands have this need to evolve over time, and frankly, I think most of them should as they evolve as musicians. But in this case, they are what they are, and I'm glad that they stuck with it.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, they've gotten a lot less angsty over the years.
Right.
But I mean, the energy levels come down quite a bit, but their overall sound and tone and feel, maybe not feel, but their overall sound hasn't really changed.
We're gonna go ahead and do Nine Inch Nails' first album. I don't remember the name of it or anything, but the reason I want to do that is because
Nine Inch Nails is fucking awesome.
Well, yes, and I've only ever heard a couple of their hits, and this is one band where I do not know a thing about them. Casey kind of played that for me a little bit the other day at work, and I was kind of into it. I mean, it was very interesting to say the least, and I had no idea that this album was as old as it was, and I'm not going to spoil anything on it.
Yeah.
But
their first album is called Pretty Hate Machine.
Okay.
And is that the one with all their hits? Yeah, Down in It, Had Like a Hole, Sin. Man, not all their, but that's the one with Head Like a Hole.
Yeah. I mean, it was just such a weird, interesting departure from what I would normally listen to, and that's kind of why I want to listen to it, because kind of the point of the channel, you know, listen to stuff we're not familiar with and stuff like that. I don't know. I'll be dead honest. I don't know a thing about this band except for it has Trent Reznor.
Yeah,
that's
Trent
about
Reznor's the shit though. He's one of those guys who's just kind of got his hands in everything.
Yep. So,
and he's a great songwriter.
Well, and also too, I think it'd be very interesting to listen to a band that features keyboard prominently and synthesizers and stuff, as opposed to guitar driven. Yeah.
I think we should just make a whole subcategory just Casey's music.
Yeah.
He's got such a interesting and eclectic taste in music. So like, and it's all just kind of weird shit. I mean, you know, there's a lot of good just thrash too.
Right.
But
and
a bunch of other shit. But he likes a lot of weird shit too.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing too. Like every time I come back there, it's always something different. I mean, literally the only thing I've not heard out of those speakers is country and hair metal. That's it. I've heard everything else.
And if you did, it was probably out of, you know, sarcasm,
right,
irony. That was a good one, I thought.
Yeah, I think so.
It's not my favorite, but it was their newest one.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, as far as my picks, I'm trying to stick with that. Just
Right.
the newest one of a long-running band, at least for now.
Yeah, I hear you. And then I'm eventually going to join Form as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there was a couple that I just really wanted to do, and kind of had my heart set on. But
we don't got to go for any kind of theme. That's just something that I'm doing.
Right.
Just, because I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm like super schooled in every different type of fucking music, but like I've heard a lot of shit.
Yes.
But I haven't heard a lot of these older bands' newest shit.
Right.
So
like there's a lot of shit that's kind of old that I've never heard. So, I mean, just anything that I've really had no familiarity with, I'm kind of focusing on now.
I just don't want to get stuck in my generation or my era of music, just like a lot of people tend to do. Like, people get stuck in the 80s or...
Right.
Which, sure, I mean, the 80s was awesome.
It was.
Or some of it. All right, till next time. Peace out, bitches.
Have a
We'll
good
see
week.
you later. You're not bitches. You're all lovely.